Yep, still waiting for this one to settle down, but in the meantime, the sun's come out, it's warming up slightly, and I'm moving on to the next one, which is going to be, well, first of all, I'll get some chalk in here on the situation. As you do. And you're running out of chalk, probably trying to buy a new bag, I think. It's quite cheap, really. Don't buy it in the small packs. For about $3 or $4 more, you can get a whole bag of this. It's a rip, you know, the plaster of Paris you get in the small packs is just a rip-off. I think it's becoming a rip-off these days, fellas. You've always got to know where to go, what to buy, to get the right price, and I think I don't think that's right. I mean, it's just ripping people off for the sake of ripping people off, you know. You know, it's like... and they expect customers to come back, you know what I mean? You know, once you've been ripped off, you never, you know, isn't that the rule? Once you've been ripped off, you never go back. So, anyway, so stage one, I think, is going to be not doing the plaster. It's going to be doing this because I think we've worked out that we don't actually have to add. So this is our slaked and ground superphosphate. I think. So let me just cover it on the side, make sure we get most of it out. Since we do all the work to actually grind it, we might as well get it all out as best we can. It's somewhat muddy. So anyway, that should be enough. Otherwise we're wasting tape. Are we in shot though? Yeah. We're in shot. Basically with this one we don't have actually don't have to add any more water to that. Now, since it's all going to be mixed together, it doesn't really matter. We can add our chalk, because now with the chalk we're going to actually have to add an extra 2 parts of water. First the 1 part, and then as it gets to the plasticine stage, here's my bucket. The watering can. We might as well make use of this to get rid of anything out of here. Okay. So now we have basically a 50-50 of our procedure, or in other words a quarter of chalk, quarter of ground slate superphosphate, a quarter of newspaper, and another quarter of newspaper, in other words half newspaper. So now it'd be interesting to see what the pH of this is going to be, because the superphosphate is fairly acid. Now, this is probably where the importance of dynamic equilibrium comes in, because there's 2 ways you can get alkalinity. You can add hydroxyl ions, or you can pull away hydrogen ions. Now, I suspect that's what's going on with the chalk. The chalk pulls away, and if you pull away hydrogen ions, it becomes alkaline, because this is in a sea of hydrogen ions being pulled away, of course. So you've got alkalinity, which then will make the phosphorus and also any sulfur there more soluble. So eventually you end up with a dynamic equilibrium where it looks acid, but it still has the potential to pull hydrogen ions away. So in a way, it's alkaline. Do you get the idea there? So everyone talks about dynamic equilibrium, and what the hell use is dynamic equilibrium? Doesn't seem to do anything. And I say, well, this is one fine, important example where it could solve the problem. Basically, our acid soils are really alkaline. That would explain why everything in my book is in the wrong end of the book. All the effects you see and everything are all in the alkaline section of the book. Because, in fact, even though this seems to be acid and quite acid, the calcium sulfate, or chalk, is actually operating a dynamic equilibrium situation. Eventually it settles down to a dynamic equilibrium where it's still trying to pull those hydrogen ions away, but you can't, and so therefore it's alkaline, but you can't tell that because it's a sea of hydrogen ions attached to the chalk, of course. So that's why I think in most of these soils alkalinity always seems to fall. So almost there. Now it'll be interesting to see how firm this gets and whether we do actually have to add another part of water. Maybe we do, I don't know. I think we did when we had pure chalk, but maybe we don't have to now. We'll have to see. I suspect we probably will eventually, in about 20 minutes time or something. But anyway, that's about it, and that's going to be the colour. I don't know, looks a bit dog shitty colour. I mean, it's not a nice grey. It's sort of, yeah, it's almost the same colour as the cement and superphosphate. So even though the cement was greyer or greyer. Yeah. Anyway, well, that's about it. I think we've had enough time on this. I think time to shut off and start. I'll tell you if I've had to add another one or pot it up.